again, everybody. Welcome back to the Sales on Demand show. I am Adam Schneider, your lovable host, and today this is episode 144, and I'm asking the question, should I open a Shopify store? So just to give you an idea of what I want to talk about in this episode, Shopify is a platform that you can sell e-commerce products, much like Amazon and Etsy, but you have to go out and get your own customers. So you have to advertise, bring people to your store, and convince them to buy your product. So it's a very different way of selling. And I think I am going to jump into this, but I have some things to think about, and I'll talk about those things that I'm thinking about in this episode. So first, let me say that the Christmas season is looking very nice. I'm already seeing like lots and lots of sales from both Amazon and Etsy. Etsy has always been my worst platform, which is, I don't know, I guess it is what it is. But Amazon is looking really good for me. And it's interesting, almost all Amazon sellers that I've heard from have said that this year's sales are down from last year. So that's a direct result of the economic, situation. People are trying to tighten their belts. But my sales are up from last year. Let me tell you exactly how much they're up. Just in the last 30 days. The last 7 days, my sales are up 12%. And they're kind of going up and down, but they are up overall for, let's see. Yeah, my sales are up over the last 12 months by 29%. So the trend is going up. And year to date, it's up 8% over last year. So I typically, sales can go up and down from week to week, but I expect to sell way more products this year than I sold last year. So this will be a good year for me. And I also printed and shipped 3 boxes of mugs to Amazon Canada from my little home printing business. And I even got my kids in on the process as well. We had a little conveyor belt of work going on, and we were actually able to print a box in about an hour, including the packaging and putting it in the box and everything like that. Maybe an hour and 10 minutes per box, which, each box is worth almost $1,000 worth of sales, so that's not too bad. That'll just be a small splash in the overall thing, but since I can't send any more stock to Amazon.com, I decided I was going to send it to Amazon.ca. So I'm kind of making good on my, what I was talking about in the last episode about, building other platforms out. And I've been thinking about something else in the last couple of weeks, and I am happy with my success on, Amazon and Etsy, but I cannot rely on those two platforms to build a $1 million business. I don't think that it's not sustainable and it's not wise to build, to try to build that many, that much on those platforms without building something else beside it just in case. So multiple streams of income, selling the same products, right? So I'm not going to sell anything different. I'm not going to go out and get some electronic product or something. I'm just going to sell the same products that I'm selling on Amazon and Etsy, but I'm going to sell them on my own platform, which is what Shopify is. When you have a Shopify store or any other e-commerce store, it doesn't really matter what you're using. It doesn't have to be Shopify. It could be WooCommerce. There's a few different options. Shopify is the one that's the easiest to start with, but there's other ones too. But I'm not saying that I'm that I think that Amazon's going to close my account, but things can happen, right? And you cannot rely on a single platform or even two platforms for your entire business, especially if you're trying to reach $1 million in sales in a year. So there are some problems with using Amazon and Etsy for massive growth. Amazon and Etsy is great till you reach a certain level, and then it seems that there's some blockages. And I'm not quitting Amazon. I intend to keep selling on Amazon. It's a great platform, but I need something else too, because I don't think I can scale Amazon the way that I want to. So one of the problems that I'm having with Amazon is storage capacity. I talked about this a bunch over the last couple of episodes, but Amazon keeps limiting how much stock I can send. I mean, I could sell more products. People love my products. I'm selling loads of them. The problem is that I can't send enough of them to make a lot of money. Amazon keeps lowering the storage capacity limits, and I don't know what to do about that. Like, I don't think there's anything I can do. I actually have been talking with other entrepreneurs about this, including a big company called Aphrodite's, which is the sister company to Gear Bubble. And I was talking with one of the fellows who works for Aphrodite's, and they have the same issue. Now, they've been pushing for meetings with Amazon to try and raise their storage capacity, and they actually were successful. So he said, he told me that they had a meeting, and Amazon raised their storage capacity by 2,500 units. And so they immediately shipped in as many units as they were allowed to. And then Amazon lowered it by half, which is crazy. Like, that's insane. Amazon is just, I don't know what's going on, but they need to get a hold of their business, because storage capacity is a huge limiting factor for making sales. So it's very clear that I'm not going to build my entire business on Amazon or Etsy. But I've always known that was going to be important. So, I mean, this is just limitations of the platforms. The number 2 problem with Amazon and Etsy is that you really can't build a lot of long-term value on someone else's platform. So you can technically sell an Amazon account, but technically you can't. So there's kind of a gray area there about selling, an Amazon platform versus selling a website that you own. Now, I'm not looking at selling anything anytime soon. I want to get as much money out of this. I love doing this. Like, I have never been more interested in my job than I am in 2022, sorry. 2020 is still stuck in my head, I guess. But I recognize that I'm not going to do this forever, and someday I want to pass this business on either to my kids or sell it and cash out and go do something else. Maybe I'll buy an airplane and learn how to fly like Don Wilson has been doing. I'll be honest, every time I see him, taking pictures of his airplane, I'm a little jealous of that. I'd love to have that kind of semi-retirement. But I just don't see that being possible. If all I have is Amazon and Etsy, then there's just not as much long-term value in that. And number 3, it's really hard to build an audience on Amazon and Etsy. It is not impossible, but it is quite difficult to do that. And that's because Amazon owns your audience, and Etsy kind of owns your audience. And so they don't want you to build up your own audience. They want to own the customers, right? When someone goes to shop on Amazon, they are not shopping on... I mean, if you have brand registry on Amazon, then yeah, you do get a little bit of audience building ability through Amazon. You can actually send some emails. This is something that Amazon is trying to build because they recognize that, building audience and brand loyalty is something that people want to do. but it still is very limited. And so it's not impossible to do, but it is difficult to do. And the platforms themselves, like Amazon and Etsy, they don't really care about you building your audience because they don't really want you to build your audience. They want you to build their audience. That's what they're trying to do. And I don't blame them. This is not an accusation of some kind of malfeasance. That's just in their best interest to have their own audience. And I have no objection to the fact that they, that's their policy. But I want my own audience. So I want to build up a following of customers or potential customers that might buy a product from me or have bought a product from me and might be interested in buying more of them. And the only way to do that is to start building an email list. And there's two kinds of email lists. You can have you have an email list of potential buyers, people who maybe clicked on your ad and visited your site but didn't make a purchase, and you can keep marketing to them to see if they will make the purchase down the road. And then there's the audience that has already made a purchase, and you can just simply add them to your list of people to message about future products. Of course, they can always, unsubscribe from your email list, but, once you build up that audience, you own that audience and you can carry it from one site to another. It's very, very portable. It's something that adds a lot of value. An email list takes a long time to build to a good size and can really boost your profitability and sustain your business's momentum on a long-term basis. So that's something that you just really can't do with Amazon and Etsy directly if you're just selling on the platform directly. There's ways to build an audience by advertising your products on Facebook to Amazon, but it's complicated, and you might as well just start doing, your own store if that's what you're planning to do. So the next step for me, of course, is a Shopify store and using paid traffic. And Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they all seem like really good traffic sources. I want to explore all of these potentials, and I know that I'm kind of cutting out a lot of work for myself in the next year, but I do have a plan for that. So here are the pros. The pros and cons of building your own Shopify store or e-commerce store. Whether you're using Shopify or not, it's irrelevant. These are the same for both. So the pros, let's start with the good bits here. Number one, you have full control over how much traffic you're getting. And traffic is the term for clicks and visitors to your store. We call it traffic because people are traveling to your store. It's just the e-commerce term that we use for that. So you have full control over that. You pay more money for ads and you get more traffic. You can, and there's so many different places that you can advertise on that it's just a matter of setting up, advertisements on the platform. You're not strictly relying on, it used to be that people were building their Shopify store around Facebook traffic, but you don't have to do that anymore. Facebook is fine. It wasn't great for a while. It seems like it's kind of coming back a bit, but it's also shrinking as a platform. So I don't intend to build all of my traffic from Facebook, but there are other platforms that offer advertising that are growing and are really good. So TikTok seems like it's a really nice growing platform. YouTube, still a huge platform with lots of clicks. Instagram obviously is owned by Facebook, but it's still a big platform. And then Google shopping ads or Google search ads, because there's two kinds of ads that you can run on Google. That's 5 different platforms that you can advertise on. So if for some reason one of the platforms shuts you down, which can happen, Facebook can shut down your ad manager account, and they frequently do for some reason. I don't know why. I do not know why they do this, but whatever. Um, then you still have 4 other ad platforms that you can use while you work on getting your Facebook back. So you have full control over the traffic. You pay more money, you get more traffic. Number 2 of the pros is you own the entire thing, lock, stock, and barrel. Nobody can take away a store from you if you own the domain name, if you own the email list. You basically have full ownership over the entire store. You can make it look however you want. You can sell whatever products you want. Obviously, advertising, there's some limitations on what you can advertise. So you may have to get clever, and you can advertise your your products that are not what do you call it? Oh shoot, there's a word. The non-political ones, if you're doing political stuff. Controversial, that's what I was thinking of. I could see the word in my head, but I couldn't say it. So controversial products, Facebook won't let you advertise anything political unless you live in the United States and get prior approval. But you don't have to advertise those products on Facebook. You can advertise them with your email list. So you can build an email list and then advertise those products with the email list. So there's lots of options. And since you own the entire thing, you basically can sell almost whatever you want as long as it's legal to sell. And of course, jewelry is legal to sell. So that's a huge pro, is that you own the entire thing, and you can sell the entire thing. You can sell a website much easier than you can sell an Amazon account. It's kind of a pain to sell an Amazon account. Unless it is brand registered, which mine is, it's still a little bit difficult to sell it. Number 3, email list building. Email lists, as I've already mentioned probably half a dozen times in this episode, they are basically a pot of gold, and you just keep digging your fingers in there and pulling nuggets out of that pot of gold. It's almost an unlimited source of free traffic. Now there's obviously a limit to how much you can get out of any email list, but there's no limit to how big your email list can be. So if you devote some time to building that email list, it's a huge resource that you can just keep on sending traffic, sending emails to. I'm on several email lists that I am deliberately on just so that I can see what they're doing, just so that I can get an idea of how they are, what kind of emails they're sending, what kind of scripts they're using, and stuff like that. So you can also, if you have, and you start to master paid and advertised traffic, you can actually build up your Amazon and Etsy stores with paid traffic or with your email list. So even though, Amazon, you can advertise on the Amazon platform, you can also advertise off of the Amazon platform as well. And there is a specific way to do that. There's several ways to do it. You never just send people to your Amazon listing. That's crazy. Never just tell people, okay, go and click on the Amazon listing. There's always an intermediary step in between it. Now, unless you have if you have an email list, you could send people directly to your Amazon listing, but that's about the only exception to that. So if you want to send, some paid traffic to Amazon, then you've got to first send them to a landing page, get their email, and then use a follow-up set of emails to get them to buy your product. So, it's a bit complex. It's not nearly as easy as just listing a product on Amazon and using good SEO and hoping people buy it. So, yes, it is. This is adding complexity, but I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he's built his Shopify store to $1 million this year. So he's got $1 million Shopify store. I mean, that's awesome. That's just amazing. And it's only, the middle of November. He already hit $1 million on Shopify. Just imagine how much he's going to make for Christmas. Um, it's a great way to build a long-term business. So pretty excited about it. But let's talk about the cons. I don't believe in blowing smoke up people's hind end. I always believe in telling you the good and the bad of any decision that you might make. So let's get into the difficult parts of building your own e-commerce store. And if you guys decide you want to do this, then I think someday we'll have some courses you can take. I may consider building my own course on this if I can get really good at it. But for the time being, I'm just sort of sharing it just because it's interesting. So the cons. Number one is that paying for advertising is paying for advertising. You're paying money for something that you were getting for free from Amazon and Etsy. Remember when I said that you got to send all of your own customers there? Yeah. Well, you got to pay for that. So you got to run ads, and there's no guarantee that the ads are going to work. So you better get everything right on the front end, and you better have a really good, what they call a back end. So this is how an ads funnel works. They call it a funnel because you're basically funneling people into like a ever narrowing chain of decision making. So the top of the funnel starts with you put up an ad on a platform. You've got your product and you're like, hey, do you like this product? Click here to see the product. It might be a video, it might be just a picture, but you're showing people what you have to offer, and you're hoping that they at least click on it. So if you get a click, that's the first step in the funnel. That's the first decision that a customer makes. The second decision that they're going to make is, oh, I might add this to cart. So, it's the same thing on Amazon. You'll have a lot of people add your product to cart, but not all of them make a purchase. So an add to cart is the next step in the process after they click on it. Now, I like to, when I see an ad on TikTok or Facebook, I like to tell Facebook that I am an interested customer because I want to see more of those ads. So I always click on the ad and then I add the product to cart just because I want to see what their cart looks like. I want to see, how they're building their cart, what are the steps in decision making, what are the payment options, and so on. Now, of course, the next step is enter payment information. Then, after that, they purchase, right? So it's finalizing the purchase or checkout. So once you get people through all four of those steps, you basically have them as a customer. Now, the funnel gets narrower and narrower as you go through all of the steps. So lots of people will click your ad, fewer people will add to cart, even fewer people will put in their payment information, and fewer people yet will make a purchase. So that's why it's called a funnel, because it gets narrower and narrower as you get down the decision-making chain. Now, if you get them to make a click, typically what is common with an e-commerce store is that you try to get them to put their email in somewhere, because you want them to be on an email list. So you can use an app. Shopify has a couple of apps where you basically, you can offer them a discount on the product if they put their email in. And there's one called Wheelio that's actually a really cool type of app. It's like a game. So they click this little wheel to win, quote, win a discount. So it kind of gamifies the process for them, and it's a lot of fun for the customer. They enjoy the feeling of winning. But ultimately it's not actually randomized. They're going to get a discount no matter what. It's just that you want their email address. So they have to put in their email address in order to, actually get the discount. And it's worth offering a discount to get somebody's email, right? Discounts are a great incentive for people, and they often are the decision-making factor that people consider. So, but all of that is costly, and it's time-consuming to set all of that up, right? So it takes time to build a Shopify store. You got to add your products in there. You got to put mock-ups. You got to put the apps in, and then you've got to start building your email sequence. So if a customer does put their email address in, you want to have emails ready to send to them. And then, of course, you need to change those emails every now and then so that they're more effective. You got to keep testing things. So it's costly and it's time consuming. And the number 2 con is that it might divert my attention from other things. So as you know, I'm the head coach for a big coaching program, and that takes a decent amount of my time and attention. So I'm a little bit reluctant on this just because I don't want to divert my focus away from my main, the thing that I'm doing, which is coaching, and I love coaching. So I'm not planning on giving that up. However, I do have a plan for that, and that is basically I'm spending a lot of time doing things right now that are not necessarily coaching per se. That I can actually train somebody else to do. So I'm doing just some back end stuff, and my goal is to hand most of that over to a couple of other, coaches who are also part of the program, but are not me. So I want to free up some of my time, which will cost me some money. There's no getting around that. I'm getting paid pretty good to do these back end things, but it's time spent, right? And it's focus. More than the time, it's the focus, because I got to focus on these things. I got to be thinking about what's next, and I want to free up my focus to start building my Shopify store. So that's kind of my train of thought. Now, I still think it's absolutely worth it. It's definitely worth it. And it's just that I don't want to start doing it right now, because it's not something that is easy to start in the middle of Christmas. Now you might be thinking, oh yeah, like Christmas is the perfect time to start advertising. But actually, it's the perfect time to keep advertising if you're already advertising. If I really wanted to have done this year, I probably would have needed to start in, July or May. So basically, this is my 2023 plan, is going to start building up the Shopify store starting in January. I might start building the store now, and I might start looking for an assistant to help me manage some aspects of it. But I don't think that it's going to be necessarily worthwhile to start running, Facebook ads. Anybody who's already running Facebook ads, they've been doing it since, the beginning of the year. So they've got a distinct advantage over me. And there's nothing I can do about that because I can't go back in time. So I think that just putting this on the burner for next year is going to be vital. Now I'm debating whether I want to get some coaching on this. So I've been in touch with 2 different sort of coaching teams who do pretty much exactly the same thing I do, which is they coach people on how to build, a Shopify store and use Facebook ads and stuff to get that moving. I've already paid for like a video course. It doesn't include any coaching though. It just includes videos and, how to and stuff like that, which I'm fine with. Like I can make a lot of hay out of, how to videos. But I think I still think there's value in coaching because, it gives you a lot of updated information. So if something changes or there's a better strategy or there's, just things that I don't already know, if I'm not part of a coaching program, then I'll have to experiment to figure those things out, which takes time. Like there's just no, it takes time and money to experiment. So I can probably learn a lot of what I need to know by just running tests, but it would probably cost me time and money to do that. So I'm debating about joining a coaching program for that. I had a couple of sales calls with the people who offer the coaching, to just see, what's the cost and what do they offer. So there's a couple of, decent looking programs. It's just, I want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth out of it if I do decide to purchase it. They're not cheap. It's, in the neighborhood of, $6,000 to $8,000. So, and that's US dollars. So you're looking at basically a used car but I mean, coaching is valuable. It really, really is. It is very difficult to be a one-man show, especially with something where the potential for profit is so high. Coaching can really pay for itself in just a year if the coaching earns me an extra $10,000 in sales, it's paid for itself. So that's kind of where I'm at, what I'm thinking about. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. Comment on the show notes page or comment on YouTube, wherever you're hearing this, and let me know what you think, whether I should take this training or not. And with that, I will bid you all a very fond farewell. The next time I'm online here will be after the Black Friday event. I'll be telling you guys how that went and more about my plan to make $100,000 in the next 45 days. So the 45-day period has actually started. It started on November 15th. And so far, I am, I think I'm in like $6,000. No, not $6,000. Maybe like $4,500. So I'm making pretty good progress into my goal of making $100,000 in sales. But I'll let you know how that goes. Thank you very much. Make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up or subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're watching on Spotify, obviously subscribe. Leave a review if you like this show. And we'll see you guys next week.